Hello and welcome in to another Rolling with My Special Friends podcast. Today we've got an unbelievably amazing guy. Most of you are going to want to know him because he is the world's largest LSU fan on the planet. He is an amazing young man, been through multiple things in his life that we're going to hear his story today and also talk to his mom and get some of these great things out. Miss Jennifer and Mr. Colton, how are you doing?
Good. Good.
Good.
How are you?
Oh, we're doing just fine. Now, everybody's sitting on the edge of their seat to find out who Colton is. Can you just start us off, Miss Jennifer, and tell us all about Colton?
Most everybody knows Colton as, like you said, the biggest LSU fan. But a lot of people that know his story know that he has been through a whole lot in his 11 years of life. Or would you say, bless you, were they long 11 years? Yeah. He's had 46 surgeries. He was born with Spina Bifida, and I would say over half of those surgeries have been shunt surgeries, which is on the brain. And he comes back every surgery with a smile on, and that's what a lot of people always say to us is he never comes back grumpy. Anything he faces, he does it with a smile, and Colton's amazing.
Wow. Now, I've got one quick takeaway from that. I heard a big number there to me that jumps out off the page that I think we need to know more about. 46 surgeries. How in the world? That's an amazing young man to have gone through all that.
It is. In fact, some of the surgeries that he has gone through, we were told as he went into surgery that the chances of him surviving the surgery was very, very little hope. And we always dug into that little hope. We felt like, the big number, the scary number, we just didn't focus on it. And we've been looked at several times and told, there's a 95% chance he won't come out of this surgery, or there's a 95% chance he won't survive. And we just said, well, we know y'all are saying 95, but we've got 5% that he will.
Right.
So you've been through a lot.
Now, there's one of them that in particular that I had heard about that I think you and I had discussed previously is at 3 weeks old, he had to have a surgery to help close his back up. Can you kind of describe that a little bit?
He had his first back closure before he was even a year old. So basically, for those that don't know what spina bifida is a hole in your spine. So Colton was born with a hole in the back of his spine that had to be closed. There was nerves exposed and things like that. So he had a surgery to close his spine and wasn't even 24 hours old when he had it. And then I would say about, 2 days later, had to have another surgery because that first surgery, his spine, the incision opened back up. And so they had to go back in and close him. Well, at 3 weeks, we had signed discharge papers. We were leaving the hospital. Our plan was to leave the hospital, and I was buttoning his clothes, getting ready to put in his car seat, and his shunt, the incision's on the back of his head, and it's kind of in an upside down U shape. And I noticed the incision didn't look right. It just didn't look good. So I called the nurse over and I said, "Can you come look at this?" And so she comes over and she says, "Oh no, hold on just a minute." She said, "That was not there this morning." And I said, "No, it was not." I said, "It wasn't there when we come in this morning." And so she goes and gets the doctor. The doctor comes over and looks at it and he says, "Y'all aren't going anywhere and we're headed for surgery." They took him to surgery, removed the shunt. They put him on it's called an external drain that drained at the bedside. And I asked the doctor, what color fluid is spinal fluid supposed to be? I didn't know. And he told me it should be clear as water. Well, Colton's looked like a muddy water. It was not clear. And so we knew we were up against a bad infection. We just didn't know what we were facing. And they took us in a small room and asked us what was our values on life and what was our values what type of quality of life did we want Colton to have? And we told him we were believers and we wanted them to do whatever they could, but we knew ultimately God was in control of all of it, whether they did anything or not. We knew God was the one that would take care of Colton. And we found out what the infection was. It was a Caenobacter meningitis, and they told me that like 90-something% of infants do not make it through the night, and most don't even make it to know what the diagnosis is. And Colton was probably 2 days into this infection, and we come into the NICU, and the doctor looked at us and said, "We can't explain all of this. This is not something we commonly see." And his spinal fluid had went from muddy looking water back to looked like drinking water, and it was clear. And we just stood there and was like, oh my, my goodness. But we always say that meningitis was a blessing in disguise, because it led us to a long list of diagnoses of Colton that we would have never found out. We would have brought him home, and we would have probably, and this sounds, we would have been planning a funeral, because he had a lot of underlying issues that we didn't know. And that's where we got the trach, and he's on a feeding tube, and he sleeps on a ventilator at night. When he goes to sleep at night, he has severe central sleep apnea. There's moments where he just doesn't breathe. And so the ventilator does all of that breathing for him at night. So we've had some scary times, but we've also been able to rejoice and be very thankful. We're very blessed.
Yeah, it sounds like that it's absolutely amazing of the things that he's had happen to him in his life that, as a lot of people would say you can't explain, but I think you and I can explain it very well, that somebody stepped in and made sure to let us know what kind of power he does have. To get us along the lines of kind of getting people into the life of Colton a little bit, when he goes to school, is he treated any differently as any other kids? Does he have any a nurse or anybody that happens to go with him, for people that are out there listening?
Colton does require or has to have a nurse go with him because of his trach and his feeding tube. He has to have somebody there in case of an emergency was to arise involving his trach or feeding tube. Unfortunately, just the school nurse, she handles all of the students, and if Colton had an emergency, she wouldn't be close enough to him to handle that. So he has a nurse, Miss Jennifer, that goes to school with him. We've been very blessed over the years with wonderful nurses, and Miss Jennifer been with us going on 5 years? Maybe, well, no, not quite 5 years. I guess it's been about 4 years that Jennifer's been with us, and she goes to school with him and keeps him on task, what he's supposed to do. Now, a lot of people are like, but does he do his schoolwork, or does Miss Jennifer do it? Who does the schoolwork?
And yeah.
Who? But he tries to get Miss Jennifer to do it. Sit up where they can see you. He tries to get Miss Jennifer to do his schoolwork, but we push him to do his work. And our joke is Colton doesn't go to school for an education. Colton goes to school for socialization. Isn't that right? He has a lot of friends, and we can't. Just about everywhere we go, we run into somebody that knows Colton or knows some of his story. And in fact, we were at the beach, was it 2 years ago? And there was a man there from like California, and he had seen somebody had shared a video of Colton and shared another video. Well, somehow it made it to him, and so he ended up following Colton, and he come up to us at the pool, and he was like, "Is this Colton Moore?" And now we were like, mm-hmm. And he was like, "I'm so-and-so from California. You have no idea who I am, but I follow your son." And we were like, wow. Like, I mean, that's just incredible, because that's all the way across the United States from where we live. And he knew who he was. And so, it's just amazing to me at how far Colton's story has reached, and all the friends he has that he doesn't even know he has.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I find very unique, and I just had to have you guys on the podcast to be able to help tell his story. Is it is that way. He's reaching all kinds of people in every direction, and I'm hearing his story in different states. And the one thing I keep hearing over and over is every time you see Colton, he's smiling.
He is. That is for sure. In fact, I guess it was 2020. 2020 was bad for, I feel like, the entire world. We all felt like, with this coronavirus and all going on. Well, Colton had a surgery in 2020 that he ended up getting an infection, and the hardware that they put in, it was for scoliosis. The hardware that they put in had to come out, and the infection had reached the bone. And I remember standing in the hospital room, and I was looking at him, and he was just, sitting there smiling and as happy as could be, and had no idea the severity of this infection and what we were facing. And I remember looking at him, and he just said, "What's wrong, Mama?" And I said, "Oh, nothing." And I try hard not to be emotional and get him upset when things are happening. But he looked up at me and said, "Well, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm going to be fine." And he went into surgery, and he come out and was smiling ear to ear. And when they removed the bandage from his back, I just stood there in total shock. They had to leave his incision open, and I just stood there and thought, "You are smiling. I would be punching somebody in their face right now. Like, I would be." And he just, he was going to be fine. And he came back from that surgery with Tylenol for pain. That was it. And that was something the nurses stood around and was like, "I cannot believe the only thing we're giving him is Tylenol for this." And I'm like, he's not saying he's hurt. Like, his evidently has very strong pain tolerance that, I guess we could say he's kind of like Hulk in a way, or Superman. But he, I always feel like when I need reassurance, a lot of times I can get it from him. When I feel like he should be the one upset and needing somebody to tell him it's going to be okay, he's the one telling me it's going to be okay.
Now, I know in part of his story, so that we kind of get there to the reasoning that he's wearing that big old pretty purple and gold shirt and says LSU on it. What is the infatuation? What makes him the greatest LSU fan on the planet?
So it all started in 2017. We took Colton to a baseball game here at the Hoover Med. It was the SEC National Championship game. It was LSU and Arkansas, and we are huge baseball fans. And we went to go see Kramer, and who was the shortstop for LSU. Had a friend give us tickets, and we went. Well, LSU won the game, and afterwards people come up to us and said, "Hey, if y'all take him here, the baseball team will come out and he can meet them." And I'm thinking, these boys want to go home. They're tired. They played a bunch of games, and they were like, "No, no, no, I'm telling you, you need to go." Like, they love it. So we went, and of course, Colton wants to be the very last in line. He wanted to be where they get on the bus. And so we maneuvered our way through the crowd and got to the bus, and he met the bus driver, and of course met the entire 2017 LSU baseball team. And we left there, and he wanted us to stop and get an LSU shirt. Well, we had to break the news to him that living in Alabama, this is Alabama and Auburn country. You're not going to find an LSU shirt at the local Walmart. So he was mad and pitched a fit, and we stopped at Walmart and bought the only thing that would make him happy was a purple t-shirt.
Oh, my.
And we got him that purple t-shirt, and he wore that purple t-shirt until people started hearing that he was in love with LSU. So then we had different ones that would travel, and they would go through Louisiana and bring him back a shirt. Well, several months later into football, we were watching, it was a football game, and after the game, it was the football conference with Coach O talking about the football team. And Colton was sitting there and was like, "Who is that man?" And we told him it was Coach O, it was LSU's coach. And he was like, "I want to meet him one day." And I was like, "Well, buddy, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to meet Coach O." So we kind of laughed it off, and then school rolled around in 2019. He had collected a ton of LSU memorabilia and just become this LSU fan from the living room. He watched football games and baseball games. And was it the first day of school, Colton? He goes to school and has to have extra bags that are like different bags for an emergency bag that's set up if an emergency was to arise. He has a milk bag, which holds his feeds for his 24-hour feeding through his feeding tube. So he had, I think it was probably 8 bags that were all LSU, and we laughed about it. And so we sat him on the front porch with all these bags, and when we took his picture, he said, "Send that to Coach O, Mom." And I said, "I don't know how to get in touch with that man. I have no idea." And I posted it on Facebook, and I just did a hashtag, "Colton wants this to get to Coach O." Well, within 24 hours, LSU called me and wanted to know when could we come, when could we bring Colton, and we lined it up. And in October of 2019, we headed to Baton Rouge, and Colton got to meet Coach O, and he spent the entire day with him. And of course, we thought 30-minute meet and greet and get tickets to the game. No, he attended their teams meetings. He attended football practice. He did it all, everything. And then we went to the game that following Saturday, and we got to sit in the coach's suite with Miss Kelly, who was Coach O's wife, and we sat with her and Carl Malone, and we had the royal treatment. Anything Colton wanted, they made it happen. In fact, the athletic facility, so most people know Colton loves Mountain Dew, and the athletic facility had Coke products, and Colton told Coach O he wanted a Mountain Dew because they didn't have it, and Coach O sent someone to the gas station to get him a Mountain Dew. So literally anything he wanted that day he got, and he's been purple and gold ever since.
Wow. Now that's pretty neat that a school, put out that red carpet for you and roll it out. And, I got to say I'm an SEC fan, so I kind of like all the schools, but it's really cool that LSU, made that extra effort to make this young man's dreams come true kind of thing. Now that along the lines with football, I also heard a story about him being able to do the prayer for a local high school team. Can you tell us about that?
He did. It's been probably, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago. We were pretty involved with our local high school football team, and Colton would lead the football team in prayer on Friday nights before the football games. And that was something that he built relationships with a lot of those teenage boys that, were going through things in life that was a struggle for them. And they built a friendship with Colton, and some of those boys we still keep in touch. In fact, it's not uncommon for somebody to knock on our door and us open it, and it be one of the boys from the football team that year that Colton had just built friendship with, and they keep in touch with us. And some are married now with kids, and so it's been fun to see their lives form, and them keep the close relationship that they do with Colton.
So tell me now, that being said, with the high school and also going to see Coach O and all these things, I also know there's another real famous man in his life, a Mr. Scott Canterbury, that's a great professional fisherman out there. Can you tell us about Scott?
You love Scott, don't you? So Scott and Colton are, I would say, BFFs, real best friends forever. Yeah. They FaceTime every day. Scott is he lives in Odinville, so he's a local for us. And Colton and Scott FaceTime all day long some days, and uh, it's amazing to me because as busy as Scott is, there's days where Colton will call him and he'll be fishing, he won't be fishing a tournament, but he'll just be fishing, out on the water, and he'll answer Colton's FaceTime call and set the phone up in the boat where Colton can watch him, and they'll stay on FaceTime sometimes an hour at a time, and
Oh, wow.
Colton and him just talking, and he's gone fishing with him in his neighborhood. They have a catfish pond that Colton's gone to fish with him, and he's fished the Casting for Kids event that at Lake Gunnersville, and he's done a lot with Scott. Scott's been a very good friend to Colton.
Yeah, Scott, I've got a real admiration for Scott myself. I follow a lot of professional fishing, and not only is he a great angler, but to hear stories like he's doing right there with Colton just shows you what kind of guy he is. So if you're out there watching, professional fishing, you need to be pulling for Scott because he's a very good guy at his heart.
He is. He really is. And Colton and Scott just cut up, and I would say I've never felt like with Scott, a lot of people who are busy like that just don't have time. And Scott has never once, if Colton calls him and Scott's busy, 9 times out of 10, Scott will answer and he'll say, "Hey buddy, I'll have to call you right back." And very few times does Colton get sent to voicemail.
Wow.
It's just, it's amazing.
Now to, tell another great story like that of all these different friends he's got. I also know of a story recently that a former person that used to come hunting with us at the Outdoor Friends that we run, a Grayson Phillips, started an organization called, what is that, something foundation. I'm trying to remember the name of theirs. Outdoor Ability Foundation. Yes, and they presented Colton with a track chair to go outside. Can you tell us about that chair?
It is a track chair that's we call it his 4-wheel drive track chair. It'll take him just about anywhere he wants to go. And Colton being in his wheelchair he's in now, he's very limited on what he can do. And the track chair has allowed him, we've lived in our home right at 7 years. And for the first time ever, Colton got to explore our woods behind our house. And it was all because of Scott and Grayson with Outdoor Ability Foundation and all of those that donated to help get the chair for Colton. And Colton asked every day, "Can I go play in my chair?" And
I am.
You're gonna play in it today? You go out there and play in it. He played in the snow. He's checked the mail in it. He's gone to our mailbox and checked the mail. And I looked out there, I guess it was about 2 weeks into having the chair, and I looked outside and he was at the neighbor's house knocking on their door, telling them they needed to come outside and play. So, it's opened a whole new world for him.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I recently got to be around you guys as well with our Outdoor Friends Foundation, and everybody there was just blown away with Colton and how great of a personality he was, and some of his, I guess we'll use colorful language that he has when he goes hunting. So people loved him for that. He wasn't willing to be shy then. He is a little shy today, but he's not normally a shy guy. What did you think about his hunting experience? Do you think he had a good time?
Oh, yes. He had fun. He tells everybody about it.
I'm going back again.
You're going back again? He's already looking forward to coming back.
Well, he's more than welcome to come back anytime. I think this story, putting it together of him, of just listening to each adventure he's gone on, with our bunch and with Scott and with the Outdoor Ability Foundation and Coach O and everybody, every one of these stories that I hear, it just keeps leaving me with a smile, because it sounds like he's touched every one of these people as he's been along the way. And, they can't help but gravitate toward such an amazing guy as Colton. Now, Tell us, as part of our podcast, we love to be able to tell stuff that's kind of different that everybody else don't get to hear. Tell us a funny story about Colton that most people don't know.
It's been several years ago. Colton was due for his normal vaccines. And if you don't know, and most of you do know, spina bifida, and depending on where the defect is, depends on where you have feeling. Well, Colton doesn't have feeling from his waist down. So he was due for vaccines at the pediatrician, and we took him for his vaccines. And he told the nurse he didn't want it to hurt. She was like, "Oh, buddy, it'll be fine. You're not going to feel anything. It's going to be fine." Well, he was all worked up about it. Well, she went to give him his vaccines, and he let out a scream and acted like it just hurt terrible. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Colton, are you okay?" And so she's trying to console him and make him happy. And he looks at her and he says, "I'm just kidding. I can't feel that." He had all of us like panicking, thinking something was really bad wrong. And he was just pulling our leg because he could feel it. And so from then on, anytime he has to get shots or anything like that, I'm like, don't do that to them, because it scared him. It had her so upset. She thought she'd hurt him.
Oh my. That's the jokester that I know after being around him for a whole weekend.
Oh yeah.
Now tell us, we're at the big juncture here in our podcast to where we add this amazing question that we kind of call it our signature series question for everybody that comes on the show. Tell us, if things were to be done tomorrow and we were sitting around reading about the life of Colton in a book, like the book of Colton, what would you hope people read in that book that he's accomplished in his life?
I would say happiness. He has brought I mean, every day of his life, he's with a smile. And I feel like something that he brings and he offers to the world is you can smile through the tears or through bad times. And that's what he does. I mean, he smiles through everything. Being his mom, I've seen him upset and I've seen him cry and I've seen him mad and things like that. But I mean, what everybody sees is a smile, and that is him just about 24/7. And he doesn't, and you know, anything that he faces, it's always, you know, I'm gonna be fine. It's fine, Mom, or it's fine. And I think the book of Colton would be everybody needs to smile a little more and show kindness and be brave, because that is what he is. You know, he's brave and smiles through everything. So
I think that's definitely a book that a lot of people would love to read, because like I say again, I've been around him a bunch, and I know a bunch of people that have been around him, and everybody is left with this great inspiration of look what he's, you know, overcome every single day, just smiling and keep right on moving and doing what he's doing. And I just was considered a big honor for you guys to come on the show and be able to share Colton's story with everybody. And just thank you for coming on.
yes, we appreciate it.
All right, everybody out there listening, that's the end of our show. What we want to do is also encourage you guys out there watching on YouTube to like and subscribe our channel, and also drop us a comment. If you got a friend in your area that is a person with a special story, please let us know. We'd love to get them on the show and tell their story and share their great times with everybody out there. Also, check us out on all your other podcast needs, your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all those great places to get us. Check us out on Facebook. We have a Facebook page there where you can leave us some comments, and hope everybody enjoys the show. And thank you guys for coming on today. It's been absolutely an honor to have you today, Colton.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will talk to you guys later.